GC Sports. That means one thing, that it is the C Custom Setup Series here. GC Sports. We're at Charlotte, not the Roval, just adjusted it. It's at the right track now. With me, I am Aquatati, of course. With me here in the booth, I have Pete Colligator.
Hello.
As well as your in-race reporter, Ward Burton.
How's it going, everyone?
Ward will be starting from the outside pole here tonight at Charlotte, with a pole sitter being Mills Canuck Fast, one of our Canadian drivers. Timer's getting ready to go. So, Piccolo, do you have invites?
I'm not sure. Send me another one.
All right, you have. I'm blue screening, but Ward, you have about 20 seconds to go over this real quick. But what are you expecting tonight, and what are your keys to victory?
Tonight I expect it to be a really, really tough race. This is the first time we've seen a mile and a half since maybe Chicagoland on the schedule. So we go back to a really tough.
Hold on, I'm blue screening. You can accept. Oh, they can't hear you while I'm blue screen. That's why I always forewarn you. You can accept, Piccolo. All right, go ahead.
There we go. But needless to say, when we look at this race here today, it's going to be a big drafting battle. In fact, my biggest comparison, I think, is going to be Atlanta. Not as much tucked up one-line racing, but you're going to see the draft approach really, really strong, and guys trying to utilize that bottom to get around other race cars. It's a tough track, but I think the one big thing, this is the longest race of the season for all of us, and having a 3 pit stop race, everyone's going to have to make sure to be very, very strong in the pits and play their cards right, because it is very, very easy to, needless to say, lose this race on one pit stop.
Yeah, to go with that, actually, it's kind of funny you say that, because you talk about how easy it is to lose the race on one pit stop. A lot of the season, they've had just one pit stop here in the C group, and now it's up to 3. We're getting ready to go green flag here. Mills Canuck Fast leading the way with Ward Burton on the outside. Your Private Patton in third, Duha sitting in fourth, and the Guardian back here with the top 5 starting position. Second, third, and fourth, we see them on a week-to-week basis as an up-front runner. Mills Canuck Fast, this is only his 3rd race of the season, so it should be a pretty good one. 22 drivers, it looks like, deep. Pico, over to you. What are you expecting to see tonight, and what are your keys to victory, as well as I need you to pick a race winner?
I'm hoping to see some good racing. I think this track provides some good side-by-side racing. It looks like we see a wreck here through the tri-oval. Yep, 3 or 4 cars through the tri-oval on the first lap. Hopefully we can avoid that and just have some good, clean side-by-side racing.
Yeah, lots of cars, 22 cars at a track like this. This is quite a bit. We do have 3 new drivers. I don't know if they all made it, but Joker Smoker, he's from the YouTube last night, so that's kind of cool that he got out there and was able to join. We have Mac Attacking You, and I don't know if he made it, but NASCAR WPS was also supposed to be racing. Looks like Mac Attack was one of those drivers involved in that incident as he's rounding out the back of this gaggle of cars here. Gonna get back to the front. GTR Mike, he's usually a front runner. He backed out after qualifying and has decided to start in the rear. Mo Power NRG has parked it already. And back at the front, looks like Mills Canuck Fast has already lost quite a few positions. Ward Burton looks like he's running in the 2nd position. Duha gets into the side of Guardian. Looks like they're going to be wrecking the 51. That would be Long Live the Sauce. He is now wrecked coming off of turn 4. To go with my keys to victory here, turn 4 is going to be a pain for a lot of these drivers. You get really, really loose off turn 4 if you're trying to pinch it down to the bottom, a lot like Texas. And so the setup itself, more than most, is going to be my key to victory on the stability of the car, more than any, not necessarily the raw speed, but the stability of the car on the exit of these corners.
Would you have predicted the tri-oval to be where the 2 wrecks happened right off the bat?
Honestly, if I can step in, I think so. Turn 4 is arguably one of the most challenging parts of this track, and it's very comparative to Texas, guys, in terms of how loose you're able to get if you're not able to hold it straight enough. If these guys do not have their rear ends planted, turn 4 is going to be a slip and slide, needless to say, all night long, and I think that's a big reason why we're seeing the first 2 wrecks be there. But I expect these guys to really start to tighten up as this race goes on and really start to find the balance. That's the one beauty of a long race. When we came here for Atlanta, I think the race was, 65, 70 laps. You have 40 more laps. So, in Atlanta for myself, where I wrecked, I still raced all the way back from 5th after wrecking on lap 2 and getting wrecked twice. Guys today, when they have accidents, doesn't mean the race is exactly over. There's still a chance you can race your way back up. Maybe not for a win, but a very strong result with early on trouble.
Yeah, to go with what you were saying there, in agreeing with you 100%, but to answer your question there, Pico, you talked about the tri-oval being the issue. I don't think it's actually the tri-oval being your problem. It's the exit of turn 4. People get loose right there on the exit. Because of that, they end up like getting sideways, going down into the grass at the tri-oval, and they're overcorrecting it, trying to stay on the track. And so if you're following a guy that gets loose on exit, right, you're not going to try to get below him. You're going to make the pass to the outside. Well, then when they overcorrect, they come back up into you, and that's where you're going to see the issues in that tri-oval, like you were saying. So to answer your question, yes, the tri-oval exit of 4 through the start-finish line, that whole section is where I expect to see most of the caution, or most of the carnage tonight here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I just normally think of Charlotte as, you know, in the middle of turn 3 and 4 where you see a lot of contact at.
Now, 3 and 4, you do see a lot of contact, but it's more like a car goes in a little too hard and they get down below someone, catch the apron, bump up into them, and you'll wall someone that way by side bumping them. But I see the actual carnage of spinning out and wrecking on the exit of 4 through to the start-finish line. And I've seen a lot of the cars already. Even some of these the top 3 are breaking away. That's Patton, Ward, and but from Mills, DB the best. Let's see, we have Hunty in this group. We have the Guardian in this group. The second pack, I've seen Mills was getting really loose, and most of the time it's going to be on those fresh tires right out the gate. The first 3 to 4 laps, your car's a little less stable than it is once you get the tires heated up. But then again, like the last 5-6 laps of the run with these custom setups, your right rear tire starts falling off real bad, and you'll get loose. So 30 laps to the tank here tonight. They have 100 laps. We will see 3 stops, but expect different stages of the cars being stable and the cars being overly loose, as again, the tire wear isn't necessarily bad here depending on your setup, but once the tires get low, that right rear becomes an issue with how loose these cars get.
Yep.
Early on right now,
Get that in there.
yeah, early on right now, we're seeing Private Patton, Ward Burton, and Duha. These guys are not racing. They're doing what they need to. And this is really smart, right? So this is the first, I call it the segment. It's not stages. This is the first segment of the race. Nobody's pit yet. You got 30 laps. You're kind of feeling it out. You want to get a distance between yourself and the rest of the field. This is where it's going to benefit you the most to work with somebody until that that pit stop comes out, and use the pit stop to your advantage to separate and kind of run your own race, right? So these guys are doing exactly what they need to, stepping away. 3 cars, all 3 of them knows what it takes to win here in the C Series, as Duha has 2 wins, Private Patton has 1, Ward Burton has 1. These guys have all not only won here, been able to race with the B group and been competitive. Patton even went on and won both this race and the B group at Pocono. So these guys know what it takes to be able to be competitive, not only in this series but a higher series. So they're doing what it takes, and if you're the rest of the field, you got to notice what they're doing and catch on and start doing it yourselves.
Oh, Gator Mike through the grass on the inside of the tri-oval. It's like, maybe somebody else also?
Sauce right in front of the leaders.
Yep.
Wolfpack is also slow through there.
Yeah, this
Gator
is
Mike did not need that starting up the back.
no. This is a really tough track, especially with 22 cars on the track. If you GTR Mike, he started last, so he's got to pass 21 cars for a victory. Doubtful that'll happen as he's going through the grass again. But I spoke about on the exit of 4. One of the ways that you're going to get looser than ever, like I myself, when I'm driving this track, right, when I come off 4, I almost point the nose towards the outside wall so I cannot put as much steer in the car. And if you're trying to make your passes like GTR Mike has to, starting 21st or whatever, 22nd, you have to get underneath the guys. That's the lane of choice, right? And when you're doing that, you have to keep the car pinched on the exit of these corners, and by doing that, it's causing that oversteer, which is going to make you break out loose on the exit of 4. So that's unfortunate that keeps happening to Mike, but I see it continuing to happen with all the cars in front of him right now.
Look at these top 3 just continuing to check out, man. It looks like you pretty much got to pick one of those three to win the race at this point, right?
Well, again, though, there's the opportunity for mistakes, and that's the thing about the long way around this track is that you can very easily speed in the pits here. This is a very, very tough pit road, believe it or not, even though all-star races have proven it a little bit of the opposite way, but it's very easy to overshoot the pits out of turn 4 and really make a couple of mistakes. But, you guys mentioned to handle it. A lot of guys getting loose. We're about 17 laps in, 2X tire wear. You get about 30 laps on the tank, depending on your kind of gear set. So the way you look at it is this. If you're loose early in the run, you've got to plan accordingly, because guess what? You're going to get even further on the long run. You're going to get even looser. So if I'm a guy right now that's sitting maybe 7th, 8th on back, I'm coming in as soon as the pit window opens. Again, remember, you have to go at least 3 pit stops, and obviously we look at the fuel window, so it's about 30 laps on a full tank. If I'm a guy in the back of the field, is, oh goodness, the 2 just wiped us out. Oh
no,
goodness.
Car taking up the leaders.
Private Patton spinning, Ward Burton was involved. Oh man. War Pig was involved. He wasn't a leader. He was lapped down. But looks like the 12 of Daha goes unscathed. Now, that's still going to be a huge deal because...
Man. Big wreck on the backstretch, too.
Oh, yeah. Jacob's involved. Jose Protege's involved. That looked like Ward. Were you involved in that one as well?
I was involved, but I'm back down to 7th. Unfortunately, our leader...
Patton is still wrecking.
Private Patton got the absolute worst of it. He is out of the top 10 and very crashed, unfortunately.
17's wrecking, 36 is wrecking. That's Joker Smoker. Wow, that was a lot of cars right there. I believe the 38, the 2 is now backed out after causing that incident. The 49 is out. The 38 of Jose Protege, did he back out? No, he's on track. Okay. You still have the 12 as the race leader of...
The 12, yes, the 12 got by nice and clean, which, hey, again, mistakes happen, accidents happen, but I do want to point this out. That accident right there, massive points implications. We saw the 12 win last week and come home massively victorious in clutch race, swap and blend. You look at the point situation right now where I sit in the 7th position. While I've had a controlling points lead since race number 2 in this season, all of a sudden for the 12, big opportunity. Got through without a mistake. If this race holds the way it is, Dale Jr. could be the points leader going in the final 2 races this season.
Yeah, so actually, I agree with you and I disagree, right? So, yeah, this could be huge if you continue to get in issues, but where I actually see the biggest problem for the 12 right now is that the 12, the 21, and the 77 had done exactly what they needed to. Pico, you talked about how the leaders were able to separate themselves from the rest of the field, right? Well, they were utilizing the draft. They were utilizing each other's speed on the track and stability. They don't have that cushion now. So the 12 has the 36 of Joker. That's going to be a lap car, of course. But there's another group behind him. You have the 7, who was your pole sitter, working with the 16 of the Guardian, who started in the top 5. You have the 20 of DB, the best, Hunty Wild. That is now going to open the door for the next 4, 5, 6 cars to have an opportunity to be able to catch the leaders, because essentially, right, so the 12 is lapping a car, other than incidences of being loose or whatever. Whenever you're lapping someone, you got to figure realistically it's because they're slightly slower. So the 12 doesn't have that draft help that other cars on the track will. And with the C group being on a normal draft, that could play a huge role here at Charlotte as we're getting ready for pit stops. Looks like the 16 signaling now. That would be the Guardian. And to go with what you were saying, Ward, you talked about pit strategy. If you were getting loose already, as soon as the window opened, you might think about pitting. 10 laps into this race, the pit window had technically opened because 30 laps to a tank, you have 100 laps. That leaves only 10 laps excess. So as soon as they hit 10 laps from then on out, any of these guys could have come to pit road and been able to make it to the end.
And right now, the junior has about a 4-second lead over me back to 7th, and then about maybe a 7-second lead back to Sammy Lunatic, who's the next car out of this back. But here we go, green flag pit stop.
The 12 of Daha is going through the grass. Sorry to interrupt you, but you were talking about the big lead the 12 had. The 12 got loose off turn 4, went flying through the infield, as here comes the whole rest of the field. Now, I know we had 4 seconds on you. I don't know if you pit, but you should have probably gained just about 2 seconds right there with that problems that the 12 car had.
Indeed, you hit it right on the mark. About 1.8 seconds for myself not being in the draft, collecting on the 12 car of Doug Jr. And right now, and I want to point this out, the car I think I want to watch is our pole sitter of Canucks, who pitted just a lap ago. Obviously, some guys trying to mix up the strategy, but that strategy, with all the problems going on with the pack trying to get through lap cars, that could really help him, especially if he gets clear track when he comes back out.
Yeah,
he's coming out the pits right now.
I like what I'm seeing out of the 7 car, the early pit strategy, like you were saying. He started getting a little loose there in front of the 16, and you don't have to go the full 30 laps, right? So it's 100 laps. He made it past the 10 lap mark, right? I think you said you guys were close to 20, right? So he could do 25 laps or so and be able to pit here from here on out and not go the full 30 now, simply because of how far he pushed it, and just give a different strategy. So if you're starting to break out loose on lap 26, 27, pit on lap 25, and you're good to go, and you won't hit that loose points. But the car that I have my eye on right now, on your screen here, both the car in front of him and he himself, Hunty Wild and the 20 of DB the Best, those 2 cars are seeming to be pretty stable. I've seen the 16 break out loose. We've now seen the 12 go through the grass, the 77 having issues, but 2 cars that are running pretty consistent, not necessarily the fastest, but this 20 and the 42, I'm not seeing these cars make big mistakes. As I say, that 42 catches the apron, but that's not really the handling. That's just a slight mistake on getting into the corner too soon. But I really think the 42 and the 20 car are 2 people to watch.
Why are you hitting the brakes in the middle of the corner? Sorry.
No, it's all right. I think that whoever you were just dealing with was coming to pit road, because all of a sudden you were by yourself and everyone went down pit road.
In the entry of the corner, which is why I'm saying, come on, you got to be breaking out of turn 4, fellas. But needless to say, still, unfortunately, problems for the 13, and the pit window continuing to relatively open.
Coming off pit road now, and Mills Canuck is going past him. In the middle of turns 1 and 2, the 7 of Mills Canuck is already past the 12. He looks like the 7's going to have about, I'd say 2.5 second lead over the 12 car. So back to what you were saying, Ward, about the big difference of pitting early there. He was able to utilize some open track as well as the fresh tires, and he's got a pretty good gap right now over the 12. I expect the 12 to close in. The 16 now coming off pit road, and I mean, the 7 had the 16 pass while he was still coming off of pit road, like not even back to the track yet. So good pit stop there for the 7. We'll have to see how it cycles out before his next pit stop.
Okay, 7's going to be well out in front of DB the Best. In fact, he is going to be your leader, guys. So I'm very eager to see again how this all plays out.
Yeah, over to you for a second, Piccolo.
I had to step away myself. Alright, I'm back. So the 7's the leader now, right?
Yes, that would be correct. 7 currently sits in the lead. And pit cycle's still going on, a couple guys going further. I believe the highest car on the track, of course, the junior, of the leaders. However, of the guys on freshest tires, I believe you have to look up at, I believe, TV the Best. He's on the freshest tires of everyone on the racetrack, and I believe he currently sits in the 5th position.
Now, I'm a little shocked here. So the 7 went to pit road, and like I said, coming off, the 12 was about 2 to 2.5 seconds, maybe. That's what it looked like the gap was. Since the 12 come out, you would assume he should have kicked in, cut into that lead a little bit because he had the fresher tires. But it actually looks like the 7 has extended the lead over the 12 car. I don't know if that's accurate or not, of course, but it looks like, to me personally, it looks like that gap has gotten larger.
Yeah, I would say relatively so. Right now, the 7 has a 7.7 second lead. And again, but you have to remember, he pit at the end of lap 24, so he has 5 lap old tires. So that's really much of a concern. But this is the game you play with the short pitting strategy. Now, he's going to get rained down as the run goes on. The question is, did he hit the number perfectly enough to maintain that gap? And will he continue to hit that strategy perfectly? Because you have to remember, too, the one advantage, the only one advantage you have of going long in this race is there could be a chance at the end of the race, if you can keep the gap close, you can take no tires to the end, or even 2 tires. So I'm eager to see, again, what guys continue to play. But right now, the 7 car in control, and this race continues to squeeze back up 1 corner at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I personally like what the 7 did here, right? It's a 100-lap race. Everybody's going to have to stop 3 times. If you do it, break it down into quarters, your 25s would be your quarters. So he pit, like you said, at the end of lap 24 coming to 25. That means that he has split it directly in quarters. 25, 50, 75, 100 is the laps that he's planning on pitting. So I really like it. But it does look now like the 12 is starting to kick into that, like you were saying, the fresher tires. He pit the 4 or 5 laps earlier than the rest of the field. So now you're seeing the 12, those 5-lap fresher tires. This is when it's really going to start paying off. Because I know like the first 5 to 7 laps, you can run about the same lap times, pretty close. So the 7 had a good 5-7 laps, and now here comes the 12 closing in while he's still got those 5-lap fresher tires. As the 3 in front of the leaders is going through the grass. 16 of Guardian looks like he's running in the 3rd place, followed by DB the Best and Hunty in 4th and 5th.
I was wondering about True Death.
He's the one that, no, True Death is a lap down. That's the one that Ward got into on entrance of pit as the 13 got into the brakes a little early.
Is that GTR Jacob back there?
That would be, however, unfortunately,
lap down.
He is a lap down.
Yeah.
Don't quite know what happened. He may have been involved in that first wreck early on lap 1.
Yeah, not the one on the tri-oval. He was involved in that big wreck. Right? Yeah, he was involved in that big backstretch one that you and Patton and everybody were involved in after the initial wreck.
He currently sits in 18th position on the racetrack.
But it's like you were saying, though, Ward. All these drivers that are still out on the track, your GTR Jacobs, your True Death up here, he's still running with the leaders. All these guys, as you're coming to pit road, if you're able to adjust, like you were saying, if you're loose, this isn't your typical 50 to 65 lap race. This is 100 laps around here. Ward spoke about it himself. He was involved in multiple wrecks at Atlanta. Came back, got a top 5 by simply running his own race after the wreck happened and was able to fight back through traffic, pick up positions. Things are going to keep happening to these other drivers. We're seeing people get loose off 4 continuously. We're even seeing people get loose off 2. People getting into each other. Pit road incidents, like what Ward and True Death went through, where you get into the back of someone ends up with a speeding penalty. There are no cautions, but there are black flags, so stuff like that happens. When you have a mistake on your race, it may change your mentality, but at the end of the day, you need to just stay going, run your race. You're no longer running for the win, but you can still come salvage a very good finish here at Charlotte as long as you just keep your mentality set that, hey, I can do this. If you get frustrated, you're probably just going to start causing even more issues, driving the car too hard, getting looser, stuff like that. But just work on your car throughout the whole race, and it will pay out.
I see Gator Mike's linked up with Pat. I don't know if they're both on the same lap.
I want to point out, guys, by the way, the junior has gone to the lead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that one. 12 of Duha is your race leader, just barely. Yeah, he's just now right in front of Mills. But again, there's, I'd say you guys are probably on like lap 40-ish in that ballpark.
Yeah, currently we're on lap 43, so if we're following the 7 strategy...
Here in another 6-7 laps, he'll be coming to pit road. Yeah. And so if that's the scenario, think about it. When the 7 came to pit, the 12 had about a 3-second lead over him, right? As long as he is within that 3-second margin right now, when he comes back to pit road, as he gets really loose off 4, but as long as he's within that 3-second margin or right at the 3-second margin, this didn't hurt him. In fact, it would have benefited him. Now, if he's about 4 to 5 seconds when he comes to pit road behind the 12, then that's a negative, right? But it's really going to have to depend on how that works out. But we're coming to about 5 laps to go before we expect to see the 7 coming to pit road. He is getting looser. He is losing time. But I think that this pit strategy is going to pan out for him right now.
Yep.
Sammy Lunatic on the lead lap behind you, Ward.
Yes, Sammy Lunatic is currently running in the 8th position. You have to go all the way back to Mac attacking you, about 80 seconds back from me, to go all the way back to 9th. And by the way, the lead is shrunken down for myself down to about 4.5 seconds. So I would like to believe TV the Best's group is about within. I'm 1.8 seconds off of them, so they're about within 2 seconds of we got.
I'm seeing the Guardians, DB and Hunty. They look. I would say that looks closer. Yeah, I mean, it looks about 2.5 to 3 seconds back for DB. I can't really. The 12 just got under the 3 car. It looks like a full corner away. Looks like the 12's coming out of the exit as the 20's in the middle of 3 and 4. So yeah, I'd say about 2.5 to 3 seconds. Yeah. I mean, you have an actual telemetry timer on yours. I'm just, you know what I mean? It looks further away than...
It says I'm about 4 seconds off the 12. So, or 4.4 seconds to be exact, and they're about 1.7 seconds ahead of me. So, I would like to think they're within that 2 second threshold now. It's just about how fast are they, how good are they as a unit in the line, and can they get there? And I think there's a chance. And, you know, the more cars you add to that line, too, I'm making about a 10th every other lap of Sammy Lunatic behind me. So, the more cars you add, the more opportunity you have to gain and extend. 5 cars is about the optimal draft. So I'm eager to really see, again, what strategy comes to be, who plays what, and can these guys make up enough ground, or will they change around their strategy because they're not gaining enough?
The 51 of Sauce is having an absolutely horrid night as he goes flying. Looks like he's coming through pit road, but that's actually, he just got loose, went through the grass, ended up on the pit road that way. Sorry, not to cut you off there, Ward. But yeah, so I see 3-car draft here. There's 4 cars up front, one of them being lapped down and the 3-car of rubbing them. But we have the 12 right in front of the 3, the 7 now, and the 16 going to the outside of them. But they're not. None of those cars are really linked together to pick up draft. 16 actually gets to the outside wall. So the Guardian in the wall now under fire from the 20 and the 42. Of course, the 13 there, he's a lap down. But that would round out your top 5 with, I believe, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're in 6, right?
Yeah, I'm in 7 currently. Actually, TrueDeath is on the lead lap. I do want to put that out. Even though I nailed him, he actually sits in 5th spot.
Man, I thought he ended up a lap down there. Or I figured he had a speeding penalty when you got into him, but okay, good.
No, I hit him in the entry to the corner.
And there's the...
By the way, 7's to the lead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the 7 coming to pit road, so I'm expecting that this is probably, that's hitting the 50 to go mark or 51 to go mark right now. So he's staying true to form and pitting after the 25 laps. I really like that he's doing that. It looks like at about after 22, 23 laps, he's starting to break out loose. And so the best way to fix that, instead of sitting out there running a third of your run with a really, really loose car, go down pit road and don't ever make yourself have to stretch it out that extra 6-7 laps.
So what would you say that gap was to him, to the 12 when he did?
Well, let's see. Ward was telling us he was at about the 2-second mark, is what he was expecting. The DB in them was about 2 seconds. So I would say Mills just pit within a second to a second and a half of your race leader of the 12. But it looks to me, I'm not seeing the 12 on the track, so I'm thinking he's on pit road as well.
Well, to be exact, TV the Best is our leader. The 12 just came down the pits. Mills pit about 2 laps before our leader. So we're starting to see the 13. TrueDeath had a little bit of a tangle with the 3 the lap car. He as well has entered the pits. So again, it's going to come down to how this short pit strategy really comes to play. You know, guys, I do like the 25 lap strategy. It's just a question, will low fuel at some point prevail? You know, we kind of talked about this in the B race a little bit. Obviously, Taddy, you being in the race as well, getting to experience this. We saw Itagro Chase as we have problems, 17 around on the front straightaway. However, when you look at it, sometimes less fuel really does have a factor, especially if you have a draft line going, and that's a big reason why Itagro Chase walked away victorious over me in Chicagoland in the B race. I would not be surprised if one of these guys, again, have a trick under their sleeve, that if they can find a way to unite as a group, continue to cut down the gap, that they'll continue to work and you know, get next to each other and you know, try to do what they can to continue to cut down this gap and really catch the leaders and force them to stick to their strategy and take this low amount of fuel and just absolutely go by them.
So I don't. This isn't me disagreeing, right? I agree completely that when you have lower fuel, it is going to work really good. But also from like a setup builder aspect, because this is the custom setup series to any viewers out there, right? So when you're building a setup, sometimes you're just like, I can't figure out how to make it go the 30 laps. After 25, 26 laps, I'm breaking out loose, or I'm getting too tight, I'm plowing up a wall, or my tires just won't last. I just can't figure out what am I doing wrong with my setup, right? Well, in a race like this scenario, that you know it's going to be caution free, so there's no caution going to put you at 30 laps to go, right? So you know already, hey, this is a 100-lap race. I have to make 3 stops. Let me break it up. Instead of even trying to fix my car for lap 28 and 29, I'll just short pit it, you know? And I think that's what the 7 did, but I think that the 7 doing the short pitting has now actually changed the 12's pitting strategy, as he actually pit, like you said, a lap, 2 laps after the 7, and when he come out of pits this time, he had that gap. The 7 did not come out with in front of the 12 car this time. He actually came out, looks like, about a second behind the 12 now. So the 12 now, I think, is in the best boat via that strategy to take it. But again, like you were saying, with only 10 laps to go, by the time you guys get to your last pit, if you're able to stretch it, you can take 2 tires, you can take no tires, you can take fuel only, 4 tires with a very small amount of fuel, and instead of running the 2s and 3s that you could with a full tank, you'll be running flats and 1s because it's low fuel. So I agree with you, and it looks like you've pit and come out in front of these guys now. Is that correct?
No, I have not pit. I have actually ran down DB the Best group all by myself, so we currently all sit in line. Here's the other thing, too. Charlotte is a track that does not see much tire fall off, guys. Currently, right now, my fastest lap in this race is a 29.222. At the end of this run, I'm running 29.8. So that's only 6/10 fall off, and I know that sounds, you know, like a hefty number. But in retrospect, it actually really is not as big of a number as, you know, what it exactly appeals to be. In fact, these laps, the more consistent you are, the more, you know, whatever, yeah, you know, the guy that comes out, the short pit, he's going to come out a second faster. You have to remember, you know, as laps continue to wind down, these guys are going to be 7, 8 tenths faster than you with a single lap. So really, again, if you're the 7 and if you're the 12, you've got to play this really smart, and you've got to really trust your gut that you can get around lap traffic without a problem.
Well, and I think that another thing that people have to remember when you do the short pit strategy is we see our race leaders, the 42 and the 77, coming to pit road now. Whenever you're trying to break up your strategy and do like the 7 and the 12 with the short pitting, another key that you have to remember, the fall off isn't as bad here, but you can't come out and run 5 laps absolutely hard as you possibly can trying to make up all that time. You have to save your stuff so that when you do fall off, you don't fall off to those 7s and 8s quick. You want to be hitting those 3s, 4s, 5s for the 20 laps, and then, you know what I mean, like the longer you can run those quicker times, the better. And the only way to do that is saving your equipment on the early parts. So if you're trying to get through lap traffic, you have to be smart about it and not burn up your equipment, kind of what you were saying there, Ward, because the fall off just isn't as drastic here. So you're not going to make up a lot of time if you're using all your equipment right out the gate fighting lap traffic.
Right, and now by the way, we're seeing the lead temporarily a bit expanded. I'm eager to see Sandy Lunatic was another one that came down short pit. But I want to point out, TV the Best group, they only hit a lap before us of me and the 42. Well, they did not beat out Hunty Wild. Hunty Wild now will lead this group. And I found myself right behind TV the Best. So 39 laps to go. Again, a good opportunity at strategy. You know, now, you know, the way I look at this, guys, if you can extend this good enough, there's a chance you can hit with 5 laps to go, take some tires, and call it a race. You know, or I should say maybe even fuel only and call it a race. So there's a lot that can be done right now, and I'm eager again to see. Because you have to remember, well, at this point, 12, the 7, they've short pit every single stop. So now, you got to think about it like this. They're 10 laps behind on tires. So theoretically, as they currently sit 10 laps behind on tires, that means that everyone else on the racetrack is always going to have that advantage. And that means that they're always going to be quicker when they're on the track. So, with that being said, when those guys come down the pit for the final short pit, if you're able to go long, you're able to take 2, you're able to make up that ground, and you may be able to keep it. So I'm eager to see, again, what kind of gap is created, how big is it cut down, and if it is cut down, I mean, how close does it become? Because right now the gap all the way back to the 42 of Hunting Wild is about 6.7 seconds. So it's a good little split.
Yeah, I kind of like, I wish there was somebody pitting in between the margin, right? So we have the guys that are short pitting at the 25 mark. You got the guys that are running their tank empty at 29, 30 laps. I really think that probably the race-winning strategy to go with what you were saying would have been that pushing the limit to about the 27 to 28 lap. That I don't see many people doing that. I know when the leaders go, right, you got the 12, the 7, they're pitting right at the 25s. And then you got, like, now you guys, 10 laps later, you guys pit, right? But there's not really anybody that pit at that 55 lap margin. It's really one way or the other. And you see that a lot. People are either going to split it up in the exact amount that they need to split the laps up evenly, or you're going to push it to where you're running it dry, right? And so I really like the different strategies here. And I think by the time the race is all over, all the cars are going to be back together. I don't think there's going to be a big split between the leaders and the next pack. I think all the cars, this top looks like 7, 8, 9 cars. I believe you guys are all going to be back together as long as you stick with your strategy. But that's where it's going to benefit this whole second group, the 42, the 20, the 77, the 14, the 16, 13, because they'll have the freshest tires if that happens.
And I want to point out like this. Obviously, I want a lap further than DB. Honey Wild's on my strategy. I have 24 laps of gas, so obviously I've done 10 laps short on paper. But again, that doesn't mean that we can't close down this gap, because guys, I want to point out something interesting. Obviously, yes, these guys have been on that short pit strategy that I keep on mentioning. Well, the lead gap has been cut down to 5 seconds. 3 laps ago, it was 8.2. So these guys are about 7, 8 tenths already slower a lap, and the gap is only closing even more. That's the reason why I say you can get away short pitting one stop, but you cannot do it 2, 3 consecutive stops. It's going to come back to bite you, especially if they have clear traffic behind.
Well, I would expect these guys to be pitting here in about 6 to 7 laps again. You guys should be getting pretty close to lap 70.
That would be correct. On lap 69. 32 laps to go.
Man, I'm doing pretty good at just guessing here.
There you are.
Right, so these guys, you're right. You went from 8 seconds down to 5. They'll be pitting in about 6 to 7. Say you're picking up the 2 to 3 seconds every 3 laps, right? That's going to put you at about 2-3 seconds behind when they come to pit road, and this should be their final stop, as there'll only be 25 to go. So this is really where, from here on out, we're going to see the big gap. As the 7 almost loses it on the exit of 4 and just lost all the time. So his strategy. Yeah, his strategy is now gone. He's already lost all of that, but he has to stick with it. He still has to come to pit road here in the next 5-6 laps, and I believe that's why he did the strategy, and I think he just backed out of the race. I think the 7 is now gone. I just saw a car disappear. It was black and yellow, so I'm assuming it was him, but yeah, I think that's why he had that strategy in the first place. Oh, it was the 13 that's gone. The 13 of True Death is the car that's gone. He was one of our top 8 cars here in this pack. I don't know what happened to him, but he is gone out of the race. That's unfortunate. Right, but anyways, right, so that's why Mills was doing the short pit, is his car starts getting broken loose after the 20-lap mark. And that's unfortunate, because it is going to cost him a good finish that he got to that wreck there. But I think he had a top 5 car without that incident happen.
Again, mistakes. They'll come back to bite you. But, you know, guys, we mentioned the 12 early on in the race, right? So there was an accident where he got loose, and obviously the 77 myself, wow, I just spoke myself in the third person. I gotta stop doing that. But myself getting involved in an accident, as well as, oh goodness, the 21 to 5 in Patton at the time. And he had a big lead. Obviously that shrank a little bit because of going through the grass. But, you know, when that all happened, guys, he still had to draft the lap cars. That was the first time we were catching lap cars on the night. Right now, he currently has one car that's barely trailing behind him, can't really quite get to him fully. So this is really the first time tonight where he doesn't have any draft help. So I'm very eager to see what happens with this minimal draft help and how quickly the league continues to kind of just come back one lap at a time.
Yeah, I think right now, so if I'm the 12, I don't like his strategy this race. I'm not a big fan of. When he got the big lead because everyone else was involved in the wreck, I believe that should have been when he decided, I'm going to push it to the max. I'm going to just run the tank track, come to pit road, as long as he's not spinning out and losing it. But of course he did. He went through the grass there that one time. But he ended up coming to pit road. He did run it out the first stretch. He pit one lap before you did that first pit stop, Ward, and then the second one he pit with one lap after the 7, and I think that was the 7 changed his strategy because they were running so closely together. He wanted the same tires, you know, and so I think that's what he went for there. If it's me this time and I'm the 12, I pit on lap 50. I'm now going to try to push this to lap 80 and only have 20 laps left. There's no reason for him to not try to push it out.
I think he picked guys the last time on lap 52, so we're getting one lap 75, so that was a little bit past halfway. We're looking at 25 laps to go. I'm going to say, and you mentioned 20 laps to go is when you think he's going to come in. I agree 100%. I see him coming within the next 2 to 3 laps to try to stay on that cycle, because at this point, he can't short pit the fuel. So he's going to have to play whatever his cards grant him. And here he comes to the fed back right now, guys.
Oh, he come in hot, got a little loose. Hopefully he got down to speed. I would assume he did. He's one of the better at getting down to pit road. But I really think that the 7 made him change his strategy when it was down to just him and the 7, right? So the big incidences happened, kind of separated the field. He felt he was racing the 7. In reality, I don't think he realized that the off-pit cycle is why you guys were back so far, if that makes any sense. And so I think it messed with him. But we're just going to have to see how it pans out. But I do know that now the 12 no longer has the help of the 7 with the draft. After the 7 basically spun out. He did not actually spin out, but he got so loose, then caught the outside wall, let everyone go before coming back down, and just lost so much time that the 12 is the only one on that strategy now, where you have 4, 5, 6 cars on this other strategy that are just, you guys are flying. This pack of 4 led by the 77 of Ward Burton, the 16 of Guardian, the 20 of DB the best. The Sauce is involved.
There's a bunch of cars coming up. I thought there might be more people get involved there.
It looks like Sauce just stayed high. Kind of let everyone go.
Yep.
Kind of scrolling through the field. Joker Smoker on pit road. DB the best. I still, who everybody knows Ward, and you are the points leader here. Your strategy is always going to be good, and you got fast hot rod every week. Guardian, he's proven himself to be a top 5 guy week after week. DB the best, keep in mind, he's running with one arm after his shoulder surgery. I spoke about how I really liked what the 20 and the 42 were doing earlier in the race, and that's staying there. If these guys all pit together and come out, I believe one of the drivers in this pack of 4 is going to be your race winner. 77, 16, 20, 42. And I really like, even if they don't win the race, the 20 and the 42 have run a phenomenal race here tonight. And I don't believe them to be in the same chat party. They're staying hooked up together as those 2 cars and have worked together well all race long, as we just seen Ward split off and go to pit road. So your race leader right now is the 20 of DB the best. I'm assuming there to be about 17, 18 laps left.
That would be, actually no, there's 20 laps to go. Now, I was doing some math. You get about 14 laps on the 1 can, so theoretically I'll have about 25 laps left on fuel when I come out. That's 5 laps greater than what you're going to need. So right now for these guys, I think this is the window. You can come out with 20 laps on the tank, be really, really fast, and you could run down at 12, have the tire advantage. I think this is the strategy you're going to have to play this second.
Yeah, so I expect to see this other group of 3 in about 8 to 10 laps then. As actually the 42 just signaled. Yeah, the 42's ready to come to pit road now. He must be listening to the broadcast.
I'll tell you right now, the lead for the junior is not as big as what it's being, needless to say, as a result. So, again, I'm very eager to see how this all plays out. And if this group of guys that are all starting to pit now can get back in line together, it's a massive opportunity and a chance to run down this 12 for the win.
Yeah, so now you're going to have, right, so I actually spoke earlier about, I wanted to see someone do the in-between margin, right? So you had the 12 pit close to the 25 to go mark, you know, split it in quarters. Then you had you pit at 20 to go. You had the 42 pit 2 laps after you. Those are your in-between marks right now. I'm still expecting to see the 20 and the I guess 20 and the 20 and the 16, probably pretty close to 14, 15 laps to go right now. So they did the whole push the limit and then pit to have the fresh stuff at the end. So now it's going to be really intriguing to see how it goes. I don't believe the 14 is pit yet, right there behind Ward. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting strategy here. I say strategy, not strategy. We know what strategy is now, but it's going to be interesting to see who comes out with the victory, as the 12 has made his final stop. The 77 has made his final stop, so the gap between them, the 77 has no option other than close that up and get the victory, if that's how it's going to pan out. So going to go back and ride along with the 12 of Daha. He's going around the 20 right now. Looks like you said the 20 pit, yeah?
Yeah, the 21 16 came in together.
Yeah, they're far behind myself. So again, I'm very eager to see. I've had about 3 laps fresher or older tires, excuse me. So it's definitely interesting to see again how strategy are playing out. I can tell you right now, the 12 has about a 4-second gap to me, but I want to point out, give him credit, he was in about, oh goodness.
Wait, is the 42 the race leader though?
No, the leader is actually private back right now.
Okay, because the 42 is in the front of the 12. Hunty Wild in the 42 is in front of the 12. Then it's the 20 of DB the best behind the 12. But Patton's coming to pit road now, so that's going to be your race lead. The 42, whatever he did, he pit a lap after you, and he's
took 2 tires, guys, because he's only 2 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah, whenever I seen him come out so far ahead of the 16, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and then
I do not like that.
I think Hunty took 2 tires also.
Had to.
Yeah, I don't like that play. I don't think that's going to win you a race.
Yeah, I would have taken 4 tires. But I was wondering, I didn't understand why the 42 and the 20 were right there with the 12. Like, they should have lost time, by staying out a little bit longer. But the 42 looks like he did take 2 tires. The 12 is all over the back end of him, actually trying to pass on the outside. The 42 is blocking. I mean, it's for the race lead, right? But all this is doing, the blocking that the 42 is doing on the 12 is letting all those other cars with the fresher tires than the 12 catch up to the 12. So Daha is in the fight for his life right now in trying to win this race. Saucy said he took his number 51 machine to the garage. We've seen some struggles out of that machine here tonight.
By the way, I do want to point out, while this is all cycling out, the 8 is still very much in the lead.
The 8 of Man-Me.
So, again, some people that still have to make their final pit stops. But I think the guys that took 2 tires, you already made your bed. You're just kind of hoping now that something bad happens to the 12 up there. But definitely get a good mix of strategy. And really, a lot of these guys took 2 tires. I mean, PB, 42, I mean, I feel like there's definitely had to be more than taking 2 tires. So I think, again, if you didn't take 4 here, you didn't come down, you missed out. But also not taking 4, basically just handing the 12 away.
Well, I mean, that's going to depend on you, whether or not you can catch up to him. That's going to be the gap between the 12. And you know what I mean?
That's going to be real tough. 3 seconds in about 10 laps or 11 laps. That's a big tall fast boy.
Yeah, I don't think the 20 and the 42 necessarily handed him the win by taking the 2 tires, simply because of the gap, right? They were behind you and then pit after you, so they would have actually lost more time to you had they even taken 4. They would have had fresher tires, don't get me wrong, so they would have closed in a little quicker, but I don't think that would have been the race-winning move either. But the reason that I don't like what they did, not the 2 tires stop, I don't like that they short pit. They didn't make it to lap 90 and then do their 2-tire stop. They pit on the 30s. They did 30, 60, and then they short pit at 70 or 75-ish in that ballpark, 80. They needed to push that all the way to the 10 to go, have the 4 even tires so they're not loose, having to tighten the car up, do all that stuff, and then take your 2 tires and only be fighting for 10 laps. I don't like the strategy of short pitting and then taking 2 tires there.
I agree 100%. And the thing is, if I'm being honest, in this game, 2 tires do not work out. I would have understood 100% if these guys came down and, they took a 4-tire stop early. The other thing, the reason why I say they handed the 12 the race, essentially, you got to remember, you got a draft going, you got a line going, you're going to be faster than the leader. And we saw that happen through the cycle of pit stops. Of course, a lot of those older tires, but 3-lap, 4-lap older tires do play somewhat of a factor. So again, I'm real surprised that these guys came down and took 2 rather than 4. But again, it's a strategy you play for points, and that's what it comes down to. We have about 8 laps, coming to 7 laps to go. The gap has shrunken, might I add, to about 2.3 seconds, but there is still a lot of lap traffic for myself to play with, and that's going to really play to the 12's advantage coming to the end of this race.
I'm only seeing 1 lap traffic in between you and the 12 right now. You got the 1 on Warpig. He's usually pretty good about getting out of the way. The 12 is actually following lap traffic of the 17 right now. So 1 car separating you guys, 2.5 seconds. You said about 7 laps, yeah?
Okay, 7 laps to go, 6 to go at the line. And
12 has to deal with lap track itself.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, the 17 is there. If he can get by the 17, that's the 8 of Mammoth, actually, who has fresh tires.
You have to remember, it was the latest car to pit, so yeah, he's on fresh tires.
Looks like the 8 might have only taken 2 tires as well. The 2-tire strategy, I'm not saying that it's a bad strategy. I don't like the strategy with how they did it. Honestly, if I had a fuel gear, right, I might think about, you can't save the 10 laps. You still have to pit 3 times. However, you could have saved a lap or 2 per run, made it 32 laps. And then take your 3rd stop. Well, no, then if you're going to do the right side tire, so you have a little bit of freshies, then you can do your 2-tire stop, or like you said, fuel only when you come down a pit road, because you only got 5-6 laps left. But I don't like taking 2 tires with 15 laps, and I do believe, and I agree with you on that one, Ward, that's the wrong call, and possibly could have been the call that handed the race to the 12. But in reality, I think what handed the race to the 12 at this junction in the race was what happened on lap 5 of the race, the big wreck that took out all the leaders.
Oh goodness! Oh goodness, there was a car that just went invisible in the right time in the middle of turn 1 and 2.
That was the 38 of Jose Protege. Loses control and disappeared invisible right as Ward was getting ready to clobber in time.
With 12 starting to wash up a little bit, it's starting to get to crunch time.
4 laps left?
4 laps to go. Yep, 3 to go, excuse me.
Man, I was doing so good. 3 to go. You're going to have to gain about 3/10 a lap in order to be able to get into the draft. We're going to have to see how this plays out. I know the 12 also starts getting really loose at the end of the run. Not quite as bad as the 7 was, but he was getting loose. Coming to 2 to go, man, I don't... Maybe you can make it up. I'm not going to say you can't, but I don't see it happening. It looks to me that at this junction, it is the 12's race to lose of Daha Jr. This would be his 3rd win of the victory of the season if he can hold on to it here at Charlotte after winning Talladega and Watkins Glen. Daha looking to make it a repeat winner here in this series as a back-to-back, winning Watkins Glen last week and trying to win here at Charlotte this week.
And he's closing strong, just going to run out of time, it looks like.
Yeah, 5 more laps. I think the race is the 77s. Because it's only 100 and not 105, they're taking the white flag now. Daha Jr. looking good to be your race winner. Barring, again, if he gets loose on the exit of 4, on the exit of 2, the 77 could be there by the start-finish line, but I think that, he catches that apron, he's going to drift up, the 77 is going to close in, but that's too big of a gap, I think. Without the 12 getting really, really loose on the exit of 4 or clobbering the wall, I think this is race. They're going through 3 and 4 for the final time here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Coming off turn 4, the 12 is able to keep the car straight, and he's going to be your race winner by about, looks like a second over Ward Burton. Is going to be your runner-up, and Guardian in the 16 is going to come home 3rd.
That's the taking 4 tires right there, right? compared to the 42 and the 20 taking 2.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if it's like the game's just doing it or whatever, but the 20 is just now in front of the 12. Surely he didn't spin and lose all that track time. Maybe it's I don't know why he's just being shown in front of the 12 right now, but you do. Is that the top 3? It was Duha, Ward, and Guardian?
Yep.
All right. Yet again, why I put you as in-race reporter, so I don't have to invite 3 drivers to the after-race party. Piccolo, I'm going to start with you here. What are your takeaways from that race? Was there anything that you seen tonight that you could learn for tomorrow night?
4 tires. I don't think I want to take 2 tires unless it's about 5 laps. I don't even know if 10 laps is low enough.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's going to be a little bit different simply because, of course, you're going to have, there's cautions as well as, it's 200 laps, not 100, but so it's 20 lap difference at the end. But yeah, I don't think that the call was bad to do 2 tires. I think that the call was bad to do 2 tires with how many laps were remaining in that. Hunty Wild with the fast lap. Let's try to get that into the deal.
29.1.
Yeah, that's what we were on. 29.124. Pretty good lap there.
Thank you.
Quite a few people with 1s there. All right, who just joined? Who? I don't want a blue screen. Who was that joined?
Guardian.
That was Guardian joined?
Yep. I'm trying to get the junior.
I added him in here.
Oh, you got him?
Yeah. I do it off my phone, so I don't have to blue screen. Let's see. Gonna look for that 16 car. Piccolo, you want to take the interview?
Nope.
Shocker. Hey, Guardian, do you have your voice set to always allow?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, 3rd place finish. You're week after week, you're starting to become one of the drivers to be on the lookout for each week. Big wrecks at the beginning of this race. What were your thought process? And when you seen other cars pitting early, did that change your strategy, or were you pretty hooked on what you were going to do the whole race?
I was fairly hooked on what I wanted to do the whole race, and then once I got out front there, at least in second, it was me and the 12 kind of out front. I was just going to kind of mirror what he did, and I just knew that the later I pit in each pit sequence, I knew that would just help me later. And I really thought about 2 tires on that last stop, and at the last second I changed it to 4, and I'm really happy I did. It seemed like a lot of guys that took 2 were kind of struggling, so I'm really happy I took 4. That way I could just kind of go out there and run it hard and not have to worry about trying to manage the tires. I could just go out there and drive. So yeah, I just I try to race clean, and I try to race hard, and yeah, I'm really happy with running 3rd tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long one, man. Longest race of the season, not only for this season, but I mean, it's just longest race in the game. 600 miler for you guys. It was a cut that in court. Whatever. It was a long race, 100 laps. The strategy was going to become a huge deal. And all in all, man, I got to say you had a great run, and congratulations on your podium finish here at Charlotte.
Yeah, thanks, man. I want to apologize to 20 there. I had to go. There was 10 laps to go or whatever, and I had a big run on them, and I wasn't really there, but I went anyways. I saw Word was getting further and further out in front of me, and I kind of dive bombed him a little bit. I didn't want to. I don't think I really hit him, but I probably messed him up. So I just want to apologize to him. But yeah, really happy to finish 3rd. I needed a good run after last week. I didn't run as well as I wanted to, so yeah, really happy.
Well, all right, man. We'll see you next week, as I believe we're headed to Phoenix next week, and then Texas to round out the season. So your points hope still obviously alive to be able to advance to the B group. So again, congratulations. Do you have anything for him, Piccolo?
No, man. Great run, as usual. You're starting to become a regular up here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Now we're going to go over to 2nd place finisher and in-race reporter Ward Burton. We heard a lot about you, about the strategy throughout the race of what you thought would work, what wasn't working, and how the 2 tire stops there for some of the drivers kind of in your words, handed the race to the 12. But all in all, you come back from a big wreck that the two involved you and Patton with. Patton not so lucky, but go through. Did you have to change your strategy, or did you just stay calm, cool, and collected, and work your way back up through the field?
Well, I'd like to think for those hearing me on the broadcast, I stayed a bit calm, cool, and collected, especially considering, you go from one incident where the two, again, went through the grass, not really much of his fault, other than trying to back out maybe quicker, if that makes sense, with us getting collected, I'm lucky that I didn't spin, unlike Patton, and was able to at least stay and get going, but I think I really had to relax myself a little bit more when I saw the 13 break into the entry of the corner, come down the pits. I definitely wasn't planning for that, just because most of the guys have been pitting off the exit of 4, that's where they started to break, so I definitely wasn't expecting that to happen right there. And I think at that point, I was about 7 seconds off the lead. I knew, all right, I had Sammy Lunatic behind me. We needed to just start gaining ground one lap at a time, and, we slowly started to chunk down the time. We stayed calm, cool, and collective. I don't want to say I necessarily changed my strategy. I think that once we had the tire advantage, I thought the whole pack was going to follow me and, come down at least to try to race down and, follow the as a group and get back to the 12 because we had cut down such a good chunk of time. But the mix with the 2 tires just kind of played everything off, and that's where I said, hey, they essentially handed in the win. We could have drafted, and we could have had a chance to, maybe get there. There's no definites, especially with lap cars, but I'm pretty proud of the fact that I was able to cut it down to 1 second there towards the end. So the fact with all that mayhem, just for example, like Atlanta, where I think I came home 5th that race, with 2 problems. Well, here we are again with 2 problems, just to a bit of a lesser extent, less ground to make up, and the fact that we were within 1 second of the lead's a good day overall. And at one point I lost the points lead today. I was down at 7th while Doug Jr. was in the lead. Well, I only lose 5 points, and consistency at least paying off a little bit for me towards the championship run. Have about an 8-point gap, I think it is, or actually I'm sorry, I think it's 13-point gap at the end of this race. So. Getting a little bit lucky, but it's coming down to the wire for these final 2 races.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be something that we watch as we push forward here through the next 2 races. 13 points is easily made up in a track like this. On top of that, you also have your pole and your fast lap that give you an extra point on top of the finishing results. So expect to see some qualifying setups out of these 2 cars. But as always, Ward, great run out of that 77 Ross Chastain Chevy, and expect to see great things out of you next week at Phoenix.
Indeed, I look forward to it. Phoenix is a good, another good track. We've talked about in the past about tracks that are really about balance and drivers' tracks, for example, like Chicagoland. I think Phoenix is going to be another driver's track next week, and I'm eager to see what strategies get played. I mean, we've seen it all season long, and I expect Phoenix to be a really, really good race next week.
All right, over to you, Pico. You got anything for Ward?
Nope, great run as usual.
Shocker.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to our race winner. Kind of getting tired of interviewing you post-race here, Duh.
What? Man, you can't never be tired of Duh now. Come on, man.
3rd win of the season. You started it out right at Talladega. You started out the second half of the season right at Watkins Glen, and you back it up here at Charlotte. So 3 out of 6 races so far. Half the season you have won, so congratulations, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I know when I had my Talladega interview, y'all asked me about if I planned on having any more wins this season. I told y'all, yeah. I'm really trying to get up there to that B group, man. I really want to race with them good fellas, and I know Burton. I already knew from the get-go when I found out that he was going to be in here. He was going to be the one to beat. And for me to win 3 races and him to only win 1, I know he has a point lead, and he's very, very consistent and super fast. It just feels great to be able to have more wins than what he has. I mean, nothing against him. I like the dude. He's fast, clean, really good guy. That's what I'm saying. It means a lot to me to have more wins than what he got right now. But this championship's going to wind up coming close between me and him. That's the plan anyways.
I got to tell you, you get the unlucky right to be able to race 200 more laps at Charlotte tomorrow night if you decide you want to do that.
Heck yeah, man. I'm always down to race. It just always depends on the work. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
it'll
only
be.
reason why I didn't race last week.
Yeah, it'll be a long one. So, real quick, I got to run it by you. So, the first pit stop, it looked like you stretched out your fuel and tires, maybe not to the full 30 lap, but it looked like about longer, 28, 29 lap in that ballpark. The second pit stop, you pit right around the 50 lap mark. The 7 who you were racing for position, he come to pit road at 50, and it looked like you pit at around 52. Was that always the game plan, or did you actually short pit your own plan because the 7 was the driver you were racing at the time?
Exactly. You nailed it down to the T, man. I mean, I had my own game plan set out, and that's what I was going to stick by. But as soon as we had such a big gap from the crash, and like you said, once it come around to where it was just me and the 7, well, by the time it come down, I still had, I want to say 7 laps of fuel left. But the car was just getting just a tick free coming out of the corner, and I'd already lost a bunch of time on the first, right before that first pit stop. I got loose a couple of times and pounded the wall coming out of 4. So I was like, man, I'm not trying to have anything slow me down anymore. I got to do what I got to do. I feel like if I can go in and pit right when he does, then that's gonna put me ahead, and it worked out. And then, like Burton was saying, they was, he had a whole group of cars right there, and I could see them, man, they was closing in fast, like half a second a lap. I mean, they was running me down. And then I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if one of them got the wall, if they decided to pit.
Yeah, their pit strategy got all messed up. Yeah, they had one car would pit one lap, next would pit the next lap. Just answering your question there, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, man, Burton was running me down. He was running me down quick, fast, and hard, man. It had me sweating bullets over here.
Yeah. Also, final question here, right? So the 42 and the 20, their final stop looked like they took just 2 tires. 42 actually came out in front of you, and it looked like you had a difficult time passing him. Not that you weren't faster, right? But it looked like he was just not necessarily blocking, but he wasn't making it easy for you to get by him, knowing that was for the race lead with about 10 to go. Were you concerned at that point that him holding you up like that was actually going to allow the 77 to get that victory tonight?
Well, I didn't know if it was going to get him the victory, but I knew it was going to let him close down to where if he was able to catch my draft, it was over with. I knew because Burton, like I said, man, I've said this from the get-go. Burton's good. So if he wants to stick it on the bottom, he's going to make it stick. If he puts it on the outside, he's going to make it stick. The guy don't mess up. So when I got stuck in behind that 42, I was hoping he was going to lead me the lane, since I was so much faster than he was, and he didn't. So I was just trying to push him around the corner and get on about my business. But it is what it is. It all worked out for me. And I really hate to see that we had that wreck at the beginning with the lap cars. Man, I really felt like this race right here between me, Burton, the 16, and the 7 was going to be really, really good.
Well, and Patton prior to the wreck. Patton got the worst end of the wreck. Yeah, that one cost him dearly.
And Patton also. So.
And not to call you a liar, but you said Burton doesn't mess up, but he did run into the 2 and was involved in that. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you didn't. No, I'm just kidding. Well, again, 3rd time this season out of 6 races. Congratulations on your victory here in the C Custom Group. P. Cole, you got anything for Daha?
Nope, I just tell you to keep him in this chat so you don't have to keep adding him every week.
I'm telling you, it's like Ward was saying in the C chat on Facebook. He said, man, one thing I can always count on right around race time is Taddy's going to kick me out of the chat, and I feel like I'm starting to do that to you weekly as well, Daha.
Well, hey, just so you know, this win was for you tonight, since you're that Ryan Blaney fan and you called that Menards car pretty down there when I won at Talladega. So this one was for you tonight.
Yo, Blaney is where it's at. Blaney and Priest, those are my 2 favorite in the Cup. And Priest will never, I don't see him getting the win. I just like him being a Connecticut boy. But, yeah, I love them Ryan Blaney cars. It's usually what I run. I just wanted to go with something different this season.
I want to give a shout out to Flash Mafia. Another win for him. KB Showtime. I know my dad's out there watching. Shout out to him. And appreciate the fans and the people that tuned in.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Showtime too. I can't wait to be beating you again tomorrow night. Sorry, I had to. Just kidding. Right. So yeah, again, congratulations to all of our top three. We had Daha followed by Ward Burton and the Guardian with another podium finish. I believe that to be his second on the season. So good run by that 16 machine. Piccolo, you got any closing thoughts? Final thoughts?
Nope.
Shocker, man, of lots of words here on the booth.
I do.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Piccolo, man, you got to start talking some more, brother. You broadcasting. You got to talk. You got to help Teddy out, man.
I'm just here so I don't get fined, man.
There you go. That's more than it. Yo.
Yeah, you got like 10 words out of him right there. That's more than I've gotten all
You guys
season.
aren't on anymore, correct?
Yeah, we're still live. Yeah, we're still live. All right, so closing thoughts here. We've seen lots of ups and downs. 22 cars on the track at a track like Charlotte. Lots of people getting ready to go into tomorrow night. B Custom Group will be running about 30 minutes later from start time tonight. 8:35 is their race time. You'll see myself and Pete Cola as we battle the likes of Bear, Robbie Racing with his return, Mike RPM, DK Brown, Coach Matt. I mean, some of the fastest guys in the league as well as in the game in general. Not to say that the C Group isn't, as we're seeing some really fast potential coming out of the C Group as Duh, Ward, Guardian, DB the best, Mills, Canuck. We're seeing some really fast guys here, and I'm really excited as we move forward with this league. I do want to give out a notification. This is the only night I broadcast, so I want to let the public know that GC Sports has decided via the gameplay that we are seeing on the NASCAR 21 Ignition game, we will not be swapping over there for our next season. We will be doing another season on Heat 5. Prior to that, kind of giving them some time to finish the gameplay over there. But anyways, tune in tomorrow night for the B Group, and from everyone here at GC Sports, thanks for tuning in, and if you watch this later, thanks for at least coming back through and checking out the races. So from everyone here at GC Sports, good night and see you tomorrow night.